The Galactic Institute floated in space like a massive silver disk. Inside its walls, students from 100 different worlds studied together. They came from planets with different suns, different air, and different bodies, but they all came here to learn about each other. 3 years ago, the first humans arrived at the Institute. The aliens were excited to meet them. Humans were new to space travel. They were one of the youngest species in the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know what made them special. But the humans seemed very ordinary. Actually, they seemed weak. Professor Velthar taught classes about different alien species. He was tall and blue, with skin that changed colors when he felt strong emotions. He had been teaching for 30 years. He thought he understood humans very well. In his office, he kept files about every species. The human file was thick. It contained many notes about their weakness. Humans got hurt easily. They complained about small problems. They made loud noises when they felt pain. Professor Velthar told his students about this. He showed them videos of humans reacting to pain. In one video, a human student named Doyen touched a hot cup. He pulled his hand back fast and yelled. His face showed pain. In another video, a human named Hyunwoo bumped his toe against a table. He hopped around on one foot, holding the hurt toe and making upset sounds. The alien students watched these videos carefully. They took notes. They learned that humans had very low pain tolerance. This meant humans could not handle pain very well. One alien student asked a question. Her name was Quelth. She had 7 eye stalks that moved around independently. She asked, "Why do humans make so much noise when they are hurt? My species stays quiet even with broken bones." Professor Velthar explained. Humans evolved as group animals. They lived in small tribes on their planet Earth. When one human got hurt, they needed to tell the others, so they made loud sounds. This warned the group about danger. It is not weakness. It is communication. The students nodded. This made sense to them. There were 4 human students at the Institute. Besides Doyen and Hyunwoo, there were 2 female humans named Juna and Jiwon. All 4 of them seemed fragile compared to the other students. When Jiwon got a headache, she went to the medical center for 3 hours. The doctors checked her with many machines. They gave her medicine. They made her rest. All of this for just a headache. When Doyen fell during a sports activity and scraped his knee, he made such loud sounds that the security robots came running. They thought something terrible had happened, but it was just a small scrape. His skin was bleeding a little bit. For most alien species, this would be nothing. For humans, it seemed like a major injury. The other students started being very careful around the humans. They made sure nothing sharp was near them. They checked that all surfaces were not too hot or too cold. They treated humans like delicate creatures that might break easily. Juna noticed this treatment. She did not like it. She came from a city on Earth called Seoul. In her culture, people valued strength and endurance. She felt embarrassed that aliens thought humans were so weak, but she also understood why they thought this. Her fellow human students did complain a lot. They did react strongly to small pains. She did it too sometimes. When she caught her finger in a door last month, she had cried out and tears came to her eyes. However, Juna knew something the aliens did not know. She knew that humans could be much stronger than the aliens believed. She knew that humans could choose to endure terrible pain if they had a good reason. She decided to show them. For 3 months, Juna saved her money. The Institute gave all students a small allowance to spend on personal items. Juna saved every credit. She did not buy snacks or entertainment. She saved everything for one purpose. There was a human cultural center in the station's residential area. Not many people knew about it. It was a small place where humans could go to feel close to their home planet. Inside there were Earth foods, Earth music, and Earth services. One of those services was tattooing. Juna found an artist named Minji. Minji had left Earth 5 years ago. She traveled around the galaxy, living on different space stations. She made art on human skin. She was very skilled. Juna showed Minji a design she had created. It was a Korean tiger surrounded by cherry blossoms. The tiger was strong and fierce. The blossoms were delicate and beautiful. Together they represented the balance Juna wanted in her life. Minji looked at the design carefully. She said, "This will take about 4 hours. It will cover your whole upper arm. It will hurt a lot. Are you sure you want to do this?" Juna said. "Yes, I am completely sure." Minji asked, "Do the Institute professors know you are doing this?" They monitor all the human students' health. They will notice something, Juna smiled. I am counting on them noticing. That is the whole point, Minji laughed. She understood. She said, You want to teach them something about humans. Exactly, Juna replied. They scheduled the appointment for the next week. Juna went to her classes as normal. She studied alien biology. She wrote papers about interspecies communication. She ate meals with other students. She acted like everything was ordinary, but inside she was preparing herself. She knew the tattoo would hurt. She had researched the process carefully. The tattoo machine used small needles to punch through the skin thousands of times per minute. Each punch deposited a tiny amount of ink under the skin surface. The process created permanent art, but it was painful. Juna thought about her grandmother back on Earth. Her grandmother had lived through difficult times. She had raised 5 children while working 2 jobs. She had survived illness and poverty. She always said, anything worth having requires some pain to achieve it. Juna believed this too. The tattoo would hurt, but it would be worth it. It would be beautiful. It would remind her of home. And it would teach the alien something important about humanity. The day of the appointment arrived. Juna finished her morning classes. She ate lunch with Doyen, Hyunwoo, and Jiwon. She did not tell them where she was going. She knew they would try to stop her. After lunch, she walked through the station's corridors. The Galactic Institute was huge. It had sections for different types of aliens. Some areas had water for swimming species. Some had extra gravity for heavy world species. Some had darkness for species with sensitive eyes. The Human Cultural Center was in a quiet area. Few aliens came here. It looked ordinary from outside. But inside it felt like Earth. The air smelled right. The gravity felt right. Even the light was the yellow-white of Earth's sun instead of the blue-white of the station's artificial lights. Minji was waiting. Her equipment was ready. The tattoo machine sat on a clean table looking innocent despite what it would do. Juna sat in the special chair. She rolled up her sleeve. She exposed her right arm. Minji asked one more time, Are you ready? Juna took a deep breath. She said, Yes, let's begin. The machine made a buzzing sound. Minji brought it close to Juna's skin, and the lesson about human endurance began. The needle touched Juna's skin for the first time. She felt a sharp burning sensation. It was not terrible, but it was definitely pain. The machine moved in lines following the outline of her design. Each pass of the needle felt like a small scratch mixed with heat. Juna kept her breathing steady. She focused on staying still. Moving would ruin the artwork. She had to keep her arm relaxed, even though every instinct told her to pull away from the pain. Minji worked with concentration. Her hands were steady and skilled. She had done this thousands of times before. She said, You are doing well. Some people jump or flinch on the first line. You are staying very still. Thank you, Juna said. She did not mention that she was counting her breaths. She did not mention that she was thinking about her grandmother. She did not mention that her heart was beating fast and her body was releasing stress hormones. She just focused on enduring. Meanwhile, back at the institute, alarms were going off. All human students wore health monitors. These were small devices implanted under the skin. They tracked heart rate, blood pressure, stress hormones, and pain signals. The institute required them for safety. If a human got sick or injured, the monitors would alert the medical team immediately. Juna's monitor was sending alerts. Her heart rate was elevated. Her stress hormones were active. Her pain receptors were firing continuously. The computer system interpreted this as a medical emergency. Professor Velthar received the notification on his datapad. He was teaching a class about alien digestive systems, but he stopped immediately. The alert said that Juna might be in serious danger. He sent his assistant Quelth to investigate. Quelth was good at evaluating medical situations. Her 7 eye stalks could see in different light spectrums. She could detect diseases and injuries that others might miss. Quelth rushed to find Juna. The location tracker said she was in the residential area. Quelth followed the signal to the Human Cultural Center. She had never been there before. She entered the building and found the tattoo studio. What she saw inside confused her completely. Juna was sitting calmly in a reclined chair. Her right arm was extended. A human woman was pressing a small machine against Juna's skin. The machine was making a buzzing noise. And Juna's skin was bleeding. Quelth's eye stalks twisted in shock. She saw tiny drops of blood mixing with black ink. She saw the skin was red and swollen. She saw that Juna's biometric readings showed significant pain, but Juna was not screaming. She was not trying to escape. She was just sitting there watching the process with interest. Quelth's translator struggled to process what was happening. Finally, she managed to speak. "Are you experiencing a medical emergency?" she asked. Juna looked up. She saw Quelth's eye stalks quivering with confusion. She almost laughed. "No," she said calmly. "I am fine. This is normal." "Normal?" Quelth's voice synthesizer made the word sound like a question and an accusation at the same time. "You are being repeatedly punctured by needles. Your tissue is being damaged. Your blood is being spilled. Your pain receptors are extremely active. How is this normal?" Minji paused her work. "Do you want me to stop?" she asked Juna. "No, keep going," Juna said. "We are on schedule. I want to finish the outline today." Quelth watched for 10 more minutes. She recorded everything with her eye stalks. She saw Juna wince when the needle passed over particularly sensitive areas. She saw Juna's breathing change during difficult parts. But Juna never asked Minji to stop. She never cried. She never showed the dramatic pain responses that Quelth had seen in the Institute's training videos. This made no sense. The biometric data showed that Juna was in real pain. This was not fake. This was not numb. Juna was feeling every needle prick. But she was choosing to sit through it anyway. Quelth needed to report this to Professor Velthar immediately. She rushed back to his office. She transmitted all her recordings directly to his computer. Professor Velthar watched the videos in silence. His skin changed colors rapidly, cycling through shades that indicated confusion and disbelief. He watched the recordings again, then a third time. Each time the same thing happened. Juna sat calmly while being stabbed thousands of times per minute. She experienced real pain but showed incredible control. Professor Velthar called an emergency meeting with other professors. Within an hour, 6 senior faculty members crowded into his office. They all watched Quelth's recordings. Professor Krill, who studied pain responses across species, spoke first. "This must be an unusual individual. One human does not represent the entire species. Perhaps she has a genetic mutation that reduces pain sensitivity." "I analyzed her biochemistry," Quelth said. "She has no mutations. She has no pain-blocking drugs in her system. Her pain receptors are functioning normally. She is feeling everything." Professor Velthar pulled up older recordings. He showed the videos of Juna reacting to small injuries. There was footage of her catching her finger in a door last month. She had yelped loudly. Her eyes had filled with tears. She had held her finger and complained about the pain for several minutes. "This is the same individual," he said. "A month ago she cried from catching her finger. Today she sits calmly through continuous stabbing. The only difference is choice." The room fell silent. The implications were staggering. "We need to understand this better," Professor Velthar said. "We need to study human pain tolerance under different conditions. With proper ethics approval, of course." The other professors agreed. They would set up a formal research study. They would ask humans to participate voluntarily. They would observe naturally occurring situations. No induced pain, just careful observation and measurement. But first they needed to talk to Juna. 3 hours later, Juna walked out of the tattoo studio. Her arm was wrapped in a clear bandage. Underneath, her new tattoo looked bright and fresh. The tiger seemed to glow on her skin. She felt proud and tired and sore all at once. She knew the Institute would want to talk to her. She had known that from the beginning. That was part of her plan. Professor Velthar met her in the corridor outside. His skin was cycling through curious colors. "Juna," he said, "we need to discuss what happened today." "I got a tattoo," Juna said simply. "It is a human cultural practice. Many humans have tattoos." "But the pain," Professor Velthar said. "The biometric data showed continuous pain for nearly 4 hours. Yet you chose to endure this. You did not try to stop it?" Juna nodded. "Yes, tattoos hurt. Everyone knows that. But the pain is temporary. The art is permanent. The pain is worth it." "Worth it," Professor Velthar repeated. He was trying to understand this concept. "You are saying the value of the art exceeds the cost of the pain." "Exactly," Juna said. "And it is not just about the art. It is also about proving to myself that I could do it. Sitting through a long tattoo session requires endurance. Finishing it makes me proud." Professor Velthar's skin turned a deep purple color. This indicated deep thought. "Juna, I must ask you something. Are humans always capable of this level of pain tolerance? Or are you exceptional among your species? Juna smiled. Professor, I am very ordinary. Most humans can do what I just did. In fact, tattoos are not even the most painful thing humans regularly experience. There are much worse pains that humans deal with all the time. Worse? Professor Velthar could not imagine what could be worse than 4 hours of continuous stabbing. Much worse, Juna confirmed. Childbirth, kidney stones, severe muscle cramps, broken bones, dental problems, burns. Humans experience these things and survive them. Some women give birth multiple times even though it is one of the most painful experiences a human can have. They choose to do it again because they want more children. Professor Velthar had to sit down. Well, he had to fold his legs in the Corinthian way of sitting. His mind was reeling. We have been wrong about humans, he said slowly. We thought you had low pain tolerance because you react strongly to unexpected pain. But really, you have the ability to choose when to endure pain. When you decide something is worth the pain, you can endure incredible amounts. Yes, Juna said. You finally understand. News of Juna's tattoo spread through the institute faster than a computer virus. By evening, everyone knew about it. Students from dozens of species were talking about the human who sat through 4 hours of stabbing for art. Doyen, Hyunwoo, and Jiwon found Juna in the dining hall. They wanted to see her tattoo. You are crazy, Doyen said, but he was smiling. The professors are going to want to study us now. Good, Juna said. Maybe they will stop treating us like fragile children. Jiwon examined the tattoo carefully. It is beautiful, she said. Worth the pain? Absolutely, Juna replied. Little did they know this was just the beginning. The aliens were about to discover many more surprising things about human pain tolerance. The Institute's ethics committee met for 3 days straight. They debated whether studying human pain tolerance was appropriate. Some members worried it might harm the human students. Others argued that understanding humans better would help keep them safer. Finally, they reached a decision. They would allow observational research only. No one would hurt the humans on purpose. Instead, they would simply watch and record situations where humans chose to experience pain naturally. All 4 human students agreed to participate. They would receive extra credits and a bonus to their allowance. More importantly, they would have a chance to show the aliens what humans were really capable of. Professor Velthar announced the first official observation. Jiwon had volunteered to demonstrate human cooking. The announcement spread quickly, and within hours 24 alien students signed up to watch. The demonstration took place in a communal kitchen. The alien students gathered behind a safety barrier made of clear material. They could see everything but were protected in case something went wrong. Jiwon entered the kitchen wearing casual clothes. She brought ingredients from the Human Cultural Center. She was going to make a traditional Korean meal called ramyeon, along with some side dishes. Professor Velthar explained to the observers, "Today we will watch a human prepare food using their traditional methods. Please observe carefully. Record anything that seems unusual or difficult to explain." Jiwon started by filling a large pot with water. She lifted the heavy pot and placed it on the heating element. The aliens watched this normal action without much interest, but then Jiwon turned the heat to maximum. The water began to boil rapidly. Steam rose from the pot in thick clouds. Quelth checked her instruments and announced, "The water temperature is now 100 degrees Celsius. This would cause immediate tissue damage if touched." Jiwon heard this and smiled. She picked up a thin cloth called a pot holder. She gripped the pot handle through the cloth and lifted the entire pot of boiling water. Several aliens gasped. Some made worried sounds in their native languages. "She is holding a container of boiling liquid," one student said. "Only a thin fabric barrier protects her flesh. Why does she not use mechanical tools?" "This is how humans cook," Jiwon explained. "We have been doing it this way for thousands of years. The cloth provides enough protection. We learn as children how to handle hot things safely." She poured some of the water into a bowl to cook noodles. Steam billowed up around her face. The aliens expected her to flinch or step back. But Jiwon just turned her face slightly to the side and continued working. The steam did not seem to bother her. Quelth checked her instruments again. The steam is approximately 90 degrees Celsius. It is touching her facial skin. She should be experiencing pain. "It is warm," Jiwon admitted, "but not painful. Steam is less dense than water. It cannot transfer heat as efficiently. As long as I do not keep my face directly in the steam for too long, I am fine. The aliens exchanged confused looks. Humans understood heat transfer and used this knowledge to work around their own physical limitations. This suggested intelligence combined with risk tolerance. Next, Ji-won prepared to taste the broth. She dipped a spoon into the still steaming soup. She lifted it to her lips. She blew on it gently for just 2 seconds. Then she sipped it. The liquid is approximately 75 degrees Celsius, Quelth reported, her eye stalks quivering with alarm. She just put it in her mouth. Her oral tissues should be badly burned. Ji-won swallowed and shook her head. Too bland, she said to herself. She seemed completely unbothered by the temperature. Are you not injured? A student called out. No, Ji-won said. Humans drink hot liquids all the time. Tea, coffee, soup. We like hot food and drinks. Our mouths can handle it. You build up tolerance over time. When I was a child, I had to wait for food to cool down. Now I can eat it much hotter. This concept fascinated the aliens. Humans could train their bodies to tolerate higher pain levels through repeated exposure. This was adaptation through choice, not through genetic evolution. Then Ji-won did something that made half the observers look away in horror. She reached for a small container. Inside was a bright red powder. She explained, "This is called chili pepper. It contains a chemical called capsaicin. When humans eat it, our pain receptors activate. It feels like burning." Many humans love this sensation. She sprinkled a generous amount into her soup. The red powder floated on the surface like a warning sign. You are adding a pain-causing substance to your food? Professor Veltar asked. Deliberately? Yes, Ji-won said. It makes the flavor more interesting. The pain adds excitement to eating. She tasted the soup again. This time her eyes watered immediately. Her nose began to run. Her face turned slightly red. The biometric monitor showed her pain receptors firing intensely, but Ji-won smiled. Perfect, she declared. The alien students erupted into chaos. They made confused sounds. They gestured wildly. They could not comprehend what they had just witnessed. The human had poisoned her own food and called it perfect. Professor Veltar updated his research notes frantically. He wrote, humans not only tolerate pain but sometimes seek it out for pleasure. The line between pain and enjoyment is blurred in human psychology. That evening, Doyon volunteered for the next demonstration. He wanted to show the aliens how humans exercised. The gymnasium was designed for many different species. It had areas with different gravity levels and different atmospheric conditions. Doyon chose a section with Earth normal gravity and set up simple equipment. A crowd of curious aliens gathered to watch. Doyon explained, humans exercise to make our bodies stronger. To do this, we must push our bodies past their comfort levels. We must experience pain and fatigue. This is normal for us. He started with a simple jog on a treadmill. The aliens watched with mild interest. Jogging seemed harmless enough, but Doyon gradually increased the speed. He ran faster and faster. His breathing became heavy. Sweat poured down his face. After 15 minutes of hard running, his legs were shaking and his face showed strain. Quelth reported, his muscles are experiencing oxygen debt. His heart rate is at 180 beats per minute. He is in significant cardiovascular stress. This is called cardio exercise, Doyon panted. It hurts. Your lungs burn. Your legs ache. But it makes your heart stronger. He slowed down and moved to the weight area. He picked up 2 heavy dumbbells. He began lifting them repeatedly. His arms trembled with effort. His face contorted in a way that clearly showed pain. He is causing microtears in his muscle fibers, Quelth said with horror. He is deliberately damaging his own tissue. That is the point, Doyon grunted, completing another repetition. The muscles repair themselves stronger than before. You have to damage them a little to make them grow. No pain, no gain. That is what we say on Earth. The aliens watched in stunned silence as Doyon continued his workout. He pushed himself until his muscles were exhausted. He did not stop when it started hurting. He stopped only when he physically could not lift the weights anymore. Then he moved to a mat on the floor. He sat down and grabbed his foot. He pulled it toward his head in a stretching motion. Several aliens looked away. They were certain they were about to witness a joint dislocation. But Doyon's leg bent in a way that seemed impossible. His foot came close to his head. His face showed discomfort, but he held the position for 30 seconds. How is your leg not broken? Someone asked. Flexibility training, Doyon explained, switching to the other leg. Humans can stretch our muscles and tendons. It hurts when you start, but if you do it regularly, you become more flexible. This prevents injuries. After the demonstration, Doyen was covered in sweat and breathing hard. The medical team checked him immediately. They found that his muscles were sore and would be tender for days, but there was no serious damage. Everything was within normal human limits. To the aliens, this was extraordinary. To Doyen, it was just a regular workout. Professor Krill approached Professor Velthar after the demonstration. She said, "We must revise our entire understanding of human physiology. They do not avoid pain. They use pain as a tool for improvement." "Yes," Professor Velthar agreed. "And we have only begun to understand. There is so much more to learn." That night, the human students sat together in their common area. They talked about the day's demonstrations. "Did you see their faces when you ate the chili pepper?" Doyen laughed. "They looked terrified," Juwan smiled. "Wait until they learn about humans who eat even hotter peppers. There are competitions on Earth. People eat peppers that are 50 times hotter than what I use today." "We should tell them about sports injuries," Hyunwoo suggested. "About athletes who play through broken fingers and torn muscles." Juna touched her healing tattoo. "One step at a time," she said. "Let them adjust to what they have learned already. We do not want to completely break their understanding of reality." But privately, she was pleased. The aliens were finally starting to see humans as they really were, not fragile creatures who needed constant protection, but tough, stubborn beings who could endure incredible hardship when they chose to. The investigation was just beginning. Professor Velthar organized a special symposium. Scientists from all over the galaxy tuned in to watch. The subject was fascinating to everyone. How had they misunderstood humans so completely? The main auditorium filled with students and faculty. Beings of every shape and size crowded into the space. Some sat in chairs. Some floated in special fields. Some hung from the ceiling. All of them wanted to understand the truth about humans. Professor Velthar walked onto the stage. His skin was a calm blue color, which meant he was focused and serious. He began his presentation with an admission. "We made a fundamental error in our understanding of humans," he said. "We observed them reacting strongly to unexpected pain. We concluded they had low pain tolerance. We were wrong. What we failed to understand was the concept of choice." He displayed 2 videos side by side. On the left screen, Doyen jumped and yelped when he accidentally touched a hot surface. On the right screen, Jiwon calmly handled a pot of boiling water. Same species. Similar situation. Completely different response, Professor Velthar explained. The difference is that in the first case, the pain was unexpected and served no purpose. In the second case, the pain was anticipated and necessary for completing a task. Humans can choose to endure pain when they have a reason. He showed more images. Humans running marathons with exhausted faces. Humans lifting heavy weights until their muscles shook. Humans eating foods that clearly caused them discomfort. Humans getting tattoos, piercings, and other body modifications. We now understand that humans do not simply tolerate pain, Professor Velthar continued. They transform it. They give it meaning. They use it as a tool for achievement, for art, for pleasure, and for growth. A student in the audience raised a tentacle. "But Professor, we have documented humans seeking medical help for minor headaches. How does this fit with voluntary pain endurance?" "Intent and purpose," Professor Velthar replied. "A headache serves no useful function. It may indicate illness. It should be treated. But pain from exercise makes muscles stronger. Pain from spicy food adds enjoyment to eating. Pain from a tattoo creates permanent art. Humans categorize these pains differently in their minds. They accept useful pain and reject useless pain." The audience murmured with understanding. This made sense. Humans were not irrational. They were selective about which pains to endure. Then Juna walked onto the stage. Her tattoo was now fully healed. The tiger on her arm looked vibrant and alive. She wore a sleeveless shirt so everyone could see it clearly. "Thank you for inviting me to speak," Juna said to the audience. "I want to explain why I got this tattoo. I want to help you understand human thinking about pain." She touched her arm gently. "This tattoo hurt?" "I will not pretend it did not. For 4 hours I sat in a chair while needles stabbed my skin thousands of times. It felt like constant burning and scratching. Sometimes I wanted to tell the artist to stop." The audience leaned forward, listening carefully. "But I did not stop," Juna continued. "I did not stop because this tattoo means something to me. In Korean culture, tigers represent courage and strength. Cherry blossoms represent beauty and the temporary nature of life. Together they remind me of home. They remind me of my grandmother, who taught me that anything worth having requires some pain to achieve. She paused and looked out at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. Pain is not our enemy, she said firmly. It is information. It tells us when we are pushing our limits, when we are growing, when we are challenging ourselves. Every time I look at this tattoo, I remember that I was strong enough to sit through the pain. That knowledge makes me proud. She pulled up images on the screen behind her, pictures from Earth showing humans in various situations. A woman holding a newborn baby, exhausted but smiling. A runner crossing a finish line with a face twisted in effort. A surgeon after many hours of surgery, tired but satisfied. A martial artist with bruises on their arms from training. Look at these humans, Juna said. They are all experiencing or have experienced significant pain. But they are not defeated. They are accomplished. They are fulfilled. Because they endured something difficult to achieve something meaningful. An alien student asked, "But why do humans complain about small pains if they can endure large ones?" Juna smiled. Because we can tell the difference. We know what real pain feels like, so we notice the small pains too. We have many different words for different types of pain. Ache, throb, sting, burn, cramp, sharp, dull. We can describe 17 different types of discomfort because we have felt them all. She concluded her speech with words that would be remembered for years. Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the fastest or the smartest, but we might be the most stubborn. We are the species that invented long-distance running for sport. We are the species that made food spicier and spicier just to challenge ourselves. We are the species that decorates our skin with painful needles and calls it art. We choose difficulty over comfort again and again throughout our entire history. The auditorium was silent for a moment. Then slowly the aliens began making sounds of appreciation in their various languages. They understood now. Humans were not weak. They were selectively strong. After the symposium, Hyunwoo approached Professor Velthar with a proposal. "Professor, if you really want to understand human pain tolerance, I need to show you something else. Something that hurts worse than tattoos." Professor Velthar's skin flickered with concern. "What do you plan to do?" "I am going to exercise until I get leg cramps," Hyunwoo explained. "Then you will watch me deal with them. Leg cramps are something most humans experience regularly. We consider them a normal part of life, but I think they will surprise you." The demonstration was scheduled for the next day. It took place in the medical bay with full monitoring equipment. An emergency response team stood ready in case something went wrong. Hyunwoo started running on a treadmill. He ran hard for 40 minutes. He drank very little water on purpose. Then he did exercises specifically designed to tire out his leg muscles. He did squats, lunges, and calf raises until his legs were trembling. 15 minutes later, he collapsed with a sharp cry of pain. The medical team started to rush forward, but Professor Velthar stopped them. "Wait, observe first. Do not intervene unless absolutely necessary." Hyunwoo's right calf muscle had contracted involuntarily. The muscle bunched up under his skin, visible and hard as rock. His face showed pure agony. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He was breathing in gasps. The biometric monitors showed pain levels that would incapacitate most species. Several alien observers looked away, unable to watch. But Hyunwoo did not call for help. Instead, he grabbed his foot with both hands. He pulled his toes toward his shin, forcibly stretching the cramping muscle. His face showed even more pain as he fought against his own body's involuntary contraction. "He is overriding his pain response through willpower," Quelth said in amazement. "His muscle is contracted and causing extreme pain, but he is forcing it to stretch anyway." For 2 minutes, Hyunwoo pulled on his foot, breathing hard, tears flowing, muscles shaking. Finally, the cramp released. He slumped back on the floor, exhausted and drenched in sweat. The medical team checked him immediately. His calf muscle was tender and would be sore for several days. But there was no permanent damage. "That is a leg cramp," Hyunwoo said weakly. "Most humans get them occasionally, usually in the middle of the night. They wake up in terrible pain, and they just deal with it because what else can you do? It is just a cramp." The aliens watching could not believe what they had heard. Just a cramp. This human had experienced pain that looked absolutely devastating. And he called it just a cramp. Professor Velthar helped Hyunwoo to a chair. He said, "Thank you for this demonstration. You have taught us something profound today. But the demonstrations were not finished yet. Jiwon had been preparing something special. She entered the medical bay carrying a small jar. Since we are showing things that hurt worse than tattoos, she announced, I brought something from Earth. She opened the jar. The smell that emerged was intense. Several alien sensory organs recoiled immediately. This is Korean chili paste mixed with extra ghost peppers, Jiwon explained. Ghost peppers are one of the hottest peppers on Earth. The Scoville rating, which measures spicy heat, is about 800,000 units. For comparison, Juna's tattoo probably rated around 300,000 units on a pain scale. This is more than twice as painful. She took a spoon. She scooped up a large amount of the bright red paste, and while maintaining eye contact with Professor Velthar, she ate it. Her reaction was immediate. Her eyes watered heavily. Her face turned red. Sweat broke out on her forehead. She started breathing rapidly through her mouth. The biometric monitors went wild with pain signals, but Jiwon just smiled through the tears. She gave a thumbs-up gesture and said, Delicious. The aliens were completely speechless. 5 minutes later, after the worst of the burning had faded, Jiwon addressed the observers. Humans have taste receptors that detect capsaicin, the chemical in peppers, as pain. We know it is pain. Our bodies react like we have been injured. But millions of humans eat spicy food every single day because we enjoy it. The pain adds flavor. The pain is part of the pleasure. Professor Velthar sat down heavily. Over the next few weeks, the 4 human students became famous throughout the Galactic Institute. Students from dozens of species approached them with questions. Everyone wanted to understand human pain tolerance better. The questions came constantly. Some were simple. Some were strange. Some were almost funny. A Felmorian student with waving tendrils asked Doyen, Is it true your species runs for many miles without stopping, even though it causes pain? Doyen nodded. Yes, it is called a marathon. Humans run for 42 kilometers. It takes hours. Your legs hurt. Your lungs burn. But people do it for fun. Millions of humans participate in marathons every year. The Felmorian's tendrils drooped in confusion. For fun? You experience hours of pain for fun? Well, it is also about challenging yourself, Doyen explained. About proving you can finish. The pain is just part of the journey. This concept spread through the Institute like wildfire. Humans voluntarily experienced pain for self-improvement and personal challenge. They did not avoid all pain. They chose which pains to endure based on their goals. Juna found herself explaining tattoos to groups of curious aliens almost every day. She showed them her healed tiger and cherry blossoms. She explained the cultural meanings. She described the experience honestly. Yes, it hurt, she always said, but look at the result. This will be with me for the rest of my life. Every time I see it, I remember I was brave enough to sit through the process. That memory is valuable to me. One alien asked, Do many humans have these tattoos? Millions, Juna replied. In some Earth cultures, tattoos are very common. Some people cover their entire bodies with them. Each session is painful, but they keep coming back because the art matters to them. Hyunwoo became the expert on human physical endurance. He explained sports injuries, muscle soreness, and the human approach to physical training. On Earth, athletes often play through pain, he told a group of students. A basketball player might sprain an ankle but continue playing. A soccer player might get kicked repeatedly but stay in the game. A boxer takes punches to the face on purpose. We admire people who can endure pain to achieve victory. This sounds dangerous, an observer noted. Sometimes it is, Hyunwoo admitted. Humans can push too far and cause serious injury. But we accept this risk because competition matters to us. Winning matters. Being part of a team matters. These things are worth some pain. Ji-won focused on explaining the human relationship with food and flavor. She gave several more cooking demonstrations. She showed the aliens dozens of different peppers from mild to extremely hot. This is a bell pepper, she explained, holding up a green vegetable. It has almost no heat. Even human children can eat it. This is a jalapeno. It is mildly spicy. This is a habanero. It is very spicy. And this is a Carolina Reaper, one of the hottest peppers on Earth. It is so spicy that eating one can make you feel sick. But humans grow them on purpose. Why? Someone asked. Because we enjoy the challenge, Ji-won said. Some humans want to test their limits. They want to see how much heat they can handle. There are competitions where people eat extremely spicy foods for prizes and glory. The aliens struggled to understand this, Pain competitions? For glory? It seemed illogical. But gradually they began to see the pattern. Humans used pain as a measuring tool. It showed them their limits. And then they tried to push past those limits. Professor Velthar organized one final presentation. This time all 4 human students would speak together. They would address the Council of Academic Excellence, the highest authority at the Institute. The council chamber was impressive. It was designed to accommodate the most important members of many species. The ceiling was high. The walls were decorated with symbols from 100 worlds. Council leader Threndok sat at the center, a being whose species was among the oldest in the galaxy. The 4 humans stood together on the presentation platform. They had prepared carefully for this moment. Council leader Threndok spoke first. Humans, you have challenged our understanding of your species. We have observed demonstrations that we once would have thought impossible. But one question remains unanswered. Why? Why do humans voluntarily experience pain when you could avoid it? The humans looked at each other. They had discussed this question many times. Finally, Juna stepped forward to answer. Because pain is proof that we are alive, she said. It is proof that we are pushing ourselves, growing, changing, becoming stronger. When we overcome pain, we prove to ourselves that we are more capable than we thought we were. She touched her tattoo through her sleeve. This hurt, but every time I look at it, I remember that I was brave enough to endure. That matters to humans. Courage matters. Endurance matters, Doyen added. Humans also bond over shared pain. If you ask a group of human friends what they remember most fondly, they will talk about difficult times they survived together. Not easy times, difficult ones. A hard hike up a mountain, a difficult project they completed, a crisis they overcame. Pain shared is pain lessened. Pain survived together creates strong friendships. We are not fearless, Hyunwoo said. We feel pain just as much as you always thought we did. We do complain about stubbed toes and headaches. Those small pains still hurt. But we also have the ability to decide that something is worth the pain. Once we make that decision, we can endure things that should break us. Jiwon concluded. Humans are not the strongest species or the fastest or the smartest. But we might be the most stubborn. Throughout our entire history, we have chosen challenge over comfort. We walked upright even though it gave us back problems. We gave birth to large-brained babies even though it was agonizing. We crossed oceans and climbed mountains and explored deserts. We did hard things because we wanted to know if we could. She paused and looked directly at Council Leader Threndok. So yes, we avoid unnecessary pain. But we define unnecessary very differently than you do. To humans, pain with purpose is not something to avoid. It is something to embrace. It is a teacher. It is a challenge. It is proof that we are truly living. The council chamber was silent. The council members looked at each other, communicating in ways the humans could not fully understand. Finally, Council Leader Threndok spoke. We understand now, Threndok said. Humans do not have low pain tolerance. You have high pain purpose. You transform suffering into meaning. This is a profound strength. We apologize for underestimating your species. The humans bowed respectfully. This was more than they had hoped for. Recognition, understanding, respect. Over the following months, things changed at the Institute. The humans were no longer treated as fragile creatures who needed constant protection. The safety protocols remained, but they were adjusted to be more reasonable. The aliens learned to distinguish between humans reacting to useless pain versus humans choosing to endure purposeful pain. Professor Velthar published his revised research. The paper was titled Human Pain Tolerance, Understanding Voluntary Suffering and Meaning-Making. It became required reading in xenobiology, programs across the galaxy. The abstract included a sentence that was quoted everywhere. Humans do not merely tolerate pain. They negotiate with it, transform it, and occasionally befriend it. In understanding this relationship, we understand something fundamental about what makes humanity unique among the stars. 6 months after Juna got her tattoo, the 4 human students sat together in their common area. They were celebrating the end of their first year at the Institute. Remember when we first arrived? Doyen said. They treated us like we were made of glass. They were trying to be kind, Jiwon said. They just did not understand us yet. And now? Hyunwoo asked. Now they understand better, Juna said. She rolled up her sleeve to look at her tattoo. The colors had settled beautifully. The tiger looked strong and fierce. The cherry blossoms looked delicate and perfect. Do you regret it? Jiwon asked. Getting the tattoo? Starting all of this? Juna smiled. Not even a little bit. It hurt, but it was worth it. That is the human way, right? We do hard things because they matter. The others agreed. They had all learned something important during their time at the Institute. Not just about aliens, but about themselves and their species. Humans were not perfect. They felt pain easily. They complained about small problems. They needed safety measures and medical care. But they also had something special. They had the ability to look at pain and decide whether it served a purpose. They could endure incredible suffering if they believed it was worth it. This made them unique in the galaxy. Not the strongest, not the toughest, but perhaps the most determined, the most stubborn, the species that transformed pain into art, into strength, into meaning. That night, Juna looked out the window at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere far away. Her family was there. Her grandmother was there. She wondered what they would think if they knew she had taught an entire galaxy something important about humanity. She thought her grandmother would be proud. After all, she had proven the old saying true. Anything worth having requires some pain to achieve, and teaching the galaxy about human endurance, that had definitely been worth it. Juna touched her tattoo one more time, feeling the slight texture of the healed ink under her fingertips. The tiger seemed to smile at her, fierce and proud. Yes, she thought. Absolutely worth it.